Well, one of the things I don't normally do when I'm down in Canberra is take the opportunity to speak to some of the really good members of Parliament we've got in the building, and one of them is Luke Howarth, who represents the seat of Petrie in Queensland. Tell us a little bit about the seat, Luke. What's the demographic?
Yeah, well, thanks, Senator. Look, Petrie's in North Brisbane and Moreton Bay. It's about 35 minutes north of the Brisbane airport. I was elected in 2013 as the federal member for Petrie, and I've held the seat 4 times. It's mainly a residential seat, working class, mixture of demographics, but yeah, it's a seat where people are real, and you get out there and talk daily with them. As an MP, that's what I like to do, to hear firsthand what is important to people. So yeah, that's what I do.
Luke's being a bit modest there. He's a great champion for our values in the lower house, which is not always easy, but he does it with a great deal of panache and does a really good job. So he's been strong on some of the issues that I've been pretty strong on as well. Vaccine mandates one. I mean, you're sort of a person that believes that people should have a right to choose, I suppose, their own.
Well, back in 2020, I wrote to the Premier and the Prime Minister at the time and said, look, we should never be forcing mandates. Mandates are something that's up to the individual. If they want to get vaccinated, they can. If they don't have to. And people losing their jobs was an absolute disgrace. I had a lot of people in my own seat that lost jobs as working in the medical, as nurses or teachers, or even in private companies. And so it was a great shame that we forced that, particularly now that we know the science, that transmission wasn't caused if you weren't vaccinated, so to speak, right? So it was really just up to the individual. But I was strong against that.
Yeah,
it's a shame that in some cases that still hasn't been lifted.
It hasn't yet, and it's one of the things we're looking at with this amendment to the Fair Work Act that Matt Canavan from your state has put up, along with myself and Gerard Rennick and Ralph Babbitt. This amendment to try to bring that in as law, that that you can't be discriminated against for not taking the COVID-19 vaccine.
Well, Matt and Gerard are 2 LNP senators from Queensland. They're doing a great job, and as is your senator, Liberal Senator for South Australia, Alex Antic. Matt, thank you for what you're doing. You're doing a good job.
Yeah, thanks for that. One of the other things, while I've got you here, is obviously defence is a pretty big deal for SA, and you're now the Shadow Defence Industry and Personnel Minister, the Shadow Minister for that.
That's correct.
It's going to be a big deal in SA for us. Tell us a little bit about the lie of the land.
Yeah, look, well, we've got a good Shadow Ministry team, obviously led by Peter Dutton, the Leader of the Opposition, Andrew Hastie as our Shadow Minister for Defence, and I've got the Shadow Ministry for Defence Industry and Personnel. The personnel side, of course, is all the men and women in the Australian Defence Force, so Army, Air Force, Navy. I currently have a son in the Army. He's 20 years of age, and just what is important there is letting them know, those men and women know, that they're valued, we appreciate what they do. It's a real honour that they've chosen to serve their country, and myself as the Shadow Minister for Defence Personnel, I let them know that on behalf of Australians when I see them. In relation to defence personnel, defence industry, it's such an important time, and it's important that the government gets this defence strategic review right, but it's also important that they continue to invest in defence, because we're at a time where, I guess, in the area that we live, there's, if you've read Jim Molan's book, the late Jim Molan's book, Enemy on Our Doorstep, it's really concerning. So Australia needs to develop our defence industry, support more small and medium-sized enterprises, and make sure that we've got a supply chain that can't be disrupted should the worst occur.
Yeah. Well, good on you, mate. Thanks for coming down to say g'day, and people of Petrie have got a good one in you, so keep up the good work, and we'll see you back in the trenches.